Well, good morning, everyone. It is about 9:15 on Friday morning. That's April 24th. And I haven't made a coronavirus update video for a while, and I thought it was time because I've got two little pieces of information to share. Just kind of informational pieces, but one other priestly reflection on the things that I've been seeing in the world today. So the first thing, the obvious one, is our stay-at-home order, at least here in Wisconsin, has been extended to the end of May. We all know this by now. But I have gotten the question a number of times, does this mean that masses are still going to have to be celebrated privately? And the answer is yes. We are going to continue to echo the governor's expectations on all of that. So for the time being, we're certainly not going to be having public celebrations of masses or other large gatherings in church till the end of May. And that's a shame, but I think a lot of us saw that coming. And while I certainly hope that we can begin getting back to normal sooner rather than later, we do have to prepare ourselves, and we have had a few conversations on the archdiocesan level of what are we going to do if we lose our entire summer? What if we still basically have to do this up until the early fall? Again, I don't want that to happen. I don't think it'll be that bad, but at this point, we have to ask the question, and we're going to be okay. We have, the plans are there, but the future is uncertain. So for now, we need to stay put and keep up on our prayers that this ends sooner rather than later. Nothing else we can really do on a large scale anyway. The other little informational piece that I wanted to share is, we've been in lockdown for a little over 5 weeks, and I have found that some meetings translate very well to, online forms, and other meetings do not. I've been joking with people this last week, my quarantine honeymoon is over. I had about 3 or 4 weeks where all my meetings were canceled because of the lockdown. At this point, all my meetings are back on. At this point, everybody is pretty much expected to have at least a rudimentary ability to use Zoom or other social media apps. So all of that's back on. And what I wanted to kind of just share is some of these meetings have been just fantastic, to the point where a lot of us are saying, we can definitely keep meeting online, even though we don't have to, in the future. Let's cut the 40-minute driving time, for this 90-minute meeting. So Zoom has been very good for some pieces of business. Some things, however, do not translate very well online. I have a priest support group. They're not mandatory, but it's encouraged that we all have a support group, because stuff happens in your life as a priest, and you can't really share it except to other priests, because even if it's not confidential information or whatever, people who aren't priests aren't necessarily going to know where you're coming from. So it's very good to have other, brothers in ministry where you can share this stuff with. So it's very important to me. And we canceled the first one for March, but then in April we said, well, let's meet over Zoom and give it a try. We need to catch up. And while I'm grateful that we did that, it was a very awkward meeting. We really needed to be together for that one. And we're going to meet online as long as we have to. Half of the guys I mean, there are 7 of us, so some of the guys are pretty feeble in terms of their health, so they really can't risk anything that will involve them potentially getting exposed to the virus or other, illnesses. But once life gets back to a little more, more of a stable point, that's one gathering that we really shouldn't meet online any more than we have to. We need to be together for some of that. So those are a couple of extremes, and then there's plenty in the middle there. But I think that's interesting, and I think all of us should ask that question. If you're doing X, Y, and Z online now because of the lockdown, I think you should ask yourself the question of how many of these meetings should continue online for the sake of convenience, and once it's safe to meet in person again, what meetings really need that in-person contact? Because I don't think the answer is automatically one or the other. It's a distinction that you really should evaluate case by case. So that's my little invitation for you on that. And then, with those 2 pieces of information out of the way, I do have a priestly urging for you all. One thing in the news that I've been seeing a lot online is people are starting to talk about protesting the lockdown and basically protesting for the sake of getting the economy back online, getting businesses opened in some way, and that's kind of creeping in. I don't think it's going away. I think with every given week, that potential is going to increase, and there has been a lot of hurtful countering of that. A lot of people that have really just been harshly condemning any of that protesting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not endorsing that protesting at all. But I was very discouraged and disappointed to see how much hurtful language there is online for both sides of this argument. The people that are saying, oh, those protesters, they're all a bunch of idiots, they're selfish, they don't care about public health, they're morons, ignore all of them. I don't think that's the case. It's certainly the case for some of them, I suppose, statistically speaking. But what I would like you to think about, if that's one thing that really pushes your buttons, I know because I'm friends with a few of them. There are people in that demographic, which we can summarize with the phrase, I can't afford not to work. There are a group of people, there is a group of people out there that are growing in desperation over the state of the world. I believe our unemployment rate is like 30% now. There are people that are at their wits' end, and they don't know what to do anymore. So, again, I'm not advocating the protesting. I'm not advocating opening up the state again to business. I do think it's a little early for that, but I do think it's wrong to bully the people that feel that way. Because if you do that, you're essentially mocking the pain and desperation of someone else. And that's not going to achieve anything worthwhile. So, again, as a priest, I really feel the need to say that to anyone who's willing to listen, hence the video, that we really need to be working out our differences in a respectful way where we can build up the hope of our neighbor. And to bully and mock other people that disagree with us, even if it's a terrible idea, we still need to resist that urge to look down on them and mock them, because there is so much pain, desperation, tension in the air. I think it's easy to jump to conclusions right now, and I think we should all give each other the benefit of the doubt and to continue building each other up as we can so that we can get through this together. So that's my little thing to think about for the beginning of the weekend. I'll post a Sunday homily before too long. And as always, stay safe, be healthy, and God bless.